Professor?
Yeah, let me turn on screen
Um,
sharing.
Yeah, I think I don't have the access right now.
Yeah. Okay, Charlie, can you give access?
All right. We're live on YouTube. We're recording, and you should be able to share your screen now. So,
Okay,
thank you
awesome.
so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me today. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, Professor, we can.
Okay, I guess then I'll get started. How long? Sorry, how long? Just to double check, how long do I have? 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
We can do 30 minutes. We can be flexible.
Okay, I'll see how it goes then. All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for inviting me today, and I hope you all enjoyed your hackathon by now. I heard it lasts for several days, so good luck on that. So today, I'm going to talk briefly about some of my research projects and focus on how I utilized VR and AI technologies for health and well-being applications. So very short introduction about myself. So actually, right now I'm an assistant professor at Duke and I teach courses under computation and design, digital media track. My research focused on human-computer interaction. So I usually create, design and implement interactive and intelligent systems, including games, virtual reality, augmented reality, and AI for health, well-being, accessibility, and social good purposes. So I have several directions or trajectories of research right now. First of all, I create some AI-mediated self-modulation interventions for well-being and for specific health purposes, such as cognitive therapy for dementia patients. And also some of my projects focused on autistic children. So we create virtual agent for their parents and also games for the children to facilitate their social skills. Furthermore, I also have several projects that's more focused on culture. So I aim to reconstruct some of the cultural heritage in different ways in virtual reality to kind of improve people's awareness and understanding about culture and intercultural heritage. So today I'm going to focus on this AI for well-being project. If I have more time, maybe I'll talk another project. We'll see how it goes. So this project is one of the research that I have done in the past before 2 years when I was doing my postdoc at Stanford School of Medicine. And this is affiliated, back then it was affiliated with Pervasive Wellbeing Technology Lab there. So we're trying to investigate how machine recommended stress interventions could work better or maybe not compared with human self-admin, self-managed interventions. And this paper has been already published by CHI, that's one of the top tier human-computer interaction conferences out there. So I presented it at CHI earlier this year as well. So what is the background? Well, how many of you are aware of your stress levels if I ask this question? Probably most of us, right? Stress is part of our life that comes from multiple sources like work, family, health conditions, and so on. Well, having stress may not necessary to be a bad thing, since sometimes it helps us to be more productive, right? But do we have enough support or do we need support for stress management? If we don't cope with it on time and at the moment, our stress will accumulate and eventually will decrease our productivity levels and maybe even lead to mental health issues and other negative consequences, right? Well, furthermore, for most of the office workers today, they're probably most likely working online by themselves or working from home sometime. So most online workers actually received limited time as well as limited professional resources and supports to identify the best ways, the best tools for self-managing their stress levels. So in existing work, there is what we call macro interventions, referring to interventions that could be completed within a short amount of time. It has huge potentials in helping us recovering from momentary stress levels quickly. So recent research have developed personalized macro interventions for stress reduction by applying AI and machine learning algorithms. And also researchers have investigated the efficacy of how AI generated or AI recommended stress interventions can help people with their stress levels such as to predict their stress levels, their preferred way of interventions, and maybe also the best timing of offering the stress interventions. So those are several examples. As you can see, they can be implemented in mobile devices or in web browser-based window, or maybe also in your email, like this Outlook email system to offer those interventions. But more recently, there is a web-based plugin called Habit Lab, where they collect very ambient data while you're using your browser, and also this picture demonstrate how you can set up and help this plugin helps us to understand our behaviors, and so that we can manage our productivity levels. So we know maybe we spent too much time on YouTube, and there will be like a alarm or a countdown timer showing on the browser. So they take such a browser-based or web-based approach, and also by just collecting our at the moment data. So we were inspired by all those prior work, and we were wondering, can we build such an AI system to provide better stress management interventions compared with our self-care when there is like, basically no help, but just us managing our stress levels. Therefore, in this study, we actually developed a prototype. We call it Home Suite Office. And we actually tested this with hundreds of users at the beginning, but in the end, around half left. So next, I'm going to introduce how our prototype looked like and how was the evaluation goals and what was the outcome. So we aim to investigate if this Home Suite Office browser-based macro interventions can reduce both either momentary stress or longer-term stress levels, and also understand if the machine approach is better than the self approach. Just to recap our goal. So this is how our system look like. Home Suite Office offer very short and specific stress interventions that can be served to user based on the online browser. I think I still have it here. So it's this kind of like web plugin, and you can observe that it offers some interventions and you can do it. So that's the plugin. And when it blinks, it reminds people that you have an overdue stress intervention, and later on after a few seconds, this blinking reminder will turn to a red dot, and the logo will change to something like this, so the users can decide either they want to do it or not. And we allow the users to preset their intervention time frame in the very beginning. They can also adjust it later in the settings. This is the way that people request an intervention. I'll get reminders from the intervention. So just to briefly talk about the users flow. So users can check in and self-report their stress levels, and then they'll receive such a stress intervention. And after they complete the intervention, we'll ask them to check out their stress changes. So this data we're collecting, so that we can use them to understand which ones works better, which not, and then we'll actually try to adjust the algorithm in the backend to offer the most effective ones. So the intervention content in the middle here could be either self-proposed, and we only show that like a reminder message, or it could be recommended by AI algorithm in the end. So I'll talk about that in more details later. To start with, we have designed and implemented over 160 interventions. So those fall under these big four categories, as you can see here, including positive psychology, semantic, which means more body relevant, like physical exercise relevant interventions, metacognitive and cognitive behavioral, which are derived from most typical used experts, stress management experts coping strategies. So here are some quick examples of the interventions. So for instance, I'll read through one of this, so you can read through the rest. For instance, for semantic one, get up from your desk, put on your shoes and take a short walk and then come back, right? So this is one example for the semantic one. So we have over 160 of this kind of interventions. We also tried to calculate the average completion time for different kinds of interventions. So as you can see, for the random group, so we have a group that we allow people to just get a random selected or random recommended intervention in the back. It has like a less completion time compared with the bandit, which is the AI recommended group. I'll talk more about this later in a bit. This is the system architecture in terms of how we build up the entire system. So as you can see, we have this server client model where we collected the client's data and stored it in different places, and we do analysis on the data, and then we kind of run the entire system. So this in this process, we used what we call multi-arm bandit algorithm, which is an reinforcement learning approach. So we collected the user's data from the beginning and also while they're using and completing each interventions, and then we decide which is the best recommendation strategy, and then we'll offer the best suitable interventions. So for the self-proposed ones, something happened with this picture, sorry, but it rests that you can do whatever you like. So for the self-proposed group, we only show the reminder nudge, asking them to do whatever intervention that comes to their mind to reduce their stress levels. Here are some examples collected from our study participants. And again, the completion time of each is around a minute. That's also within the range of the random group and the AI bandit group. So for instance, people usually have very fixed ways, like very limited ways of self-managing their stress levels, such as drink, a kind of pop, getting some snacks, or maybe count down backwards and take deep breath, or maybe took a bath, etc. So those are the self-proposed ways. And for the AI recommended ones, the bandit group, we have called it, we used, just to recap this, we used contextual multi-arm bandit recommendation algorithm, which is a kind of reinforcement learning approach. So we collected the user's self-reported stress ratings and changes, stress reductions as the reward to train the machine learning algorithm. And then we recommended potential personalized interventions from the big 4 categories that I explained earlier. And we also, meanwhile, collected different state space, including the context and the features, such as the users' traits like their demographic information, their sleep time, etc., and some other settings, such as if they like to receive social less kind of intervention or not. Some of the interventions ask them to say call their friends or message their friends, etc. So we also collected what they like or dislike to visit online, and some of the intervention periods if they prefer a bit longer or maybe more shorter amount of time. So all of those contextual information also has been fed into the algorithm to help us to set up and decide which ones to actually recommend. And the bandit algorithm, the multi-arm bandit algorithm can explore new interventions. Meanwhile, exploit the the most effective intervention. So it's a balance of explore versus exploit. That's the kind of the essence of this algorithm. So that we don't just keep recommending one single kind of intervention, boring intervention for the users, and they always receive, say, semantic kind of information without exploring the rest of the possibilities in the poll. So to answer our question, research question, if AI approach is much better than the self-proposed approach, we first designed and implemented a browser-based plugin, as I mentioned, Home Suite Office, right? And then we conducted 2 pilot user studies so that we can initially to test out how the system works and if there are any technical issues. And we actually iterated our design of the system and also the algorithms. We collected some initial data as the training data as well. And then in the final main study, we actually involved the 69 participants and analyzed results from over 1,000 interventions that they completed in within 1 month. So all of the studies has been conducted in the wild. That means we didn't observe them while they're doing that, but instead we sent this plugin. We asked them to install the plugin in their browser, and then we collected all data and survey data from the backend via Qualtrics survey links. So that's the way we run the study. So everything has been done in a longitudinal setting and in the wild. So here are some overview of the final main study. So we actually originally recruited over 400 people, but then only 69 completed the entire study. So we conducted the study in a between subjects format and tested actually 4 groups. So I've already talked about the self-proposed one, where you can do basically everything when the browser plugin nudge you. And you can also receive randomly selected interventions from the poll, or maybe the banded one, the AI recommended one, right? And meanwhile, we also have a control group where the participants in this group didn't use HSO at all. They just live their normal life and answer our survey questions, and that's it. So that's like a baseline control group. So in the entire 4 weeks, we collected pre and post surveys and also did interviews, and also after each week, we collected weekly surveys. So we measured their long-term stress changes and also momentary stress changes after each intervention when they request it from the browser. So we also collected some browser data, including the nudge status, their completion time, their response time, etc. So we have been collecting a lot of data. So how does the result look like? Here are our main findings. Participants from all 4 groups did not experience any significant changes in the long-term depression, anxiety, or sleep. So I didn't show that data here. However, what's interesting is based on the stress changes, stress reportings after each single intervention, which we call momentary stress, we found significantly more reduction in both the self group and the AI bandit group compared with the randomly recommended group. However, we didn't find any significant differences between the self and the AI bandit group. So that's very interesting. Moreover, we also analyzed how intervention categories had different outcomes. Results showed that in the bandit AI group, interventions from the semantic category, which are about physical, received significant better changes or more reductions compared with the all other 3 categories, intervention categories. Well, again, when compared with the bandit group, AI group with the random group, bandit group received significant better stress changes in all 3 categories, except for the cognitive behavioral therapy category. So that's very interesting. So we hypothesized that while cognitive behavior therapy was the least successful one, probably because it doesn't work in the form of macro intervention format, which usually requires more time to learn, to complete and build up the cognitive behavioral skills. But in our case, we only give them, like, as you can see, the completion time is around a minute or 2. So don't have that reflection time or practices to actually build in-depth skills. That's the hypothesis. Well, furthermore, how about the self-proposed ones? We found that upon close analysis on their what exactly they did for each intervention, we asked people to fill that at the end when they requested each intervention. So we discovered that when participants self-propose their own stress interventions, their interventions only cover 1 or 2 of the categories I mentioned HSO home suite office, our prototype has 4 big kind of categories, right? But then they only cover a limited 1 or 2 kinds. And also most of the self-proposed interventions were about physical, semantic interventions, and each participant's experiences usually just a few interventions like walking, drinking waters, listening to music, and having maybe breathing exercises, go to the gym, etc. So those are our limited kinds compared to the over 160 kind of interventions we have. And also a majority self-proposed interventions were already part of their daily routines, such as what I mentioned, walking, exercising, having snacks, etc. So we also did some quick interviews at the very end of the study with everybody. From the qualitative open-ended questions, we found participants in the self group think that the nudge was helpful reminder for them to think about their stress levels and be aware of the stress levels so that they can take a break from their work and be aware or attend to their stress levels. So for instance, one person said, nudge made me think about what I was doing and slow down if needed. Participants from the random and the bandit group, very interesting, they regarded home suite office HSO interventions as a guidebook or toolbox. So for instance, a person said, I was usually always attentive and interested because I was curious what intervention I would get. It felt like a genuinely nice daily activity to ease my mind a bit, which is nice to have. So that's very interesting qualitative outcomes. So in the future, well, we plan to further explore human AI collaborated approach in creating and recommending stress interventions. We also want to further investigate probably potentially the best ways for human machine to actually work together. Right now, it's like either the machine recommended ones by learning humans' behavioral data, or the entirely pure human self-authored, self-proposed ones. So we like to let machine and human work together so we can better achieve the optimal intervention effect, and also meanwhile maximum users agency over the intervention. So this is something we are interested to work on next. I think I've already talked through like for over 20 minutes. Maybe I'll stop here for now and see if you guys have any questions. But then this is some of the examples of how we carry out human-centered project from human perspectives. Meanwhile, implementing some AI algorithms to best fulfill the technologies needs, humans' needs for the technologies. All right, I'm going to stop share now and see if there are any questions for me.
Can you hear us, Professor?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if we have any questions from our participants. Okay, Nazir John.
Hello, Professor Tong. I wanted to ask a quick question about in a daily life. We're talking about also focusing on our work, for example, right? Is it a technical problem or?
I don't know.
No, I think she left.
Yeah.
I think it's internet.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, something happened.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I got the network issue, sorry.
Okay. These days we're talking about also like focusing on our work, on our studies, right? How about the way that we are stress intervention we're talking and sending a notification to the one who is like, let's say, working or in a study mode, how it affects on the focus mode of the person that's working in a full deep focus?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. That's also why I earlier I showed how the nudge look like, right? So it will blink for a sec in very ambient way. So people probably won't even sometimes notice it if they don't specifically look at that corner on a very like top right corner. And that's only flashes for several, I think several seconds, probably less than a minute, and then it will turn into this red dot mode. So people know there's something, but they don't have to necessarily attend to it. So we give people agency. That design was also an iteration from a prior pilot study we did. We find that, well, originally we let the icon to keep blinking and flashing, and people said that was very annoying and disturbed their work. So that's why we changed it to this current way. It actually worked much better. So if they can see it, and they don't have to immediately attend to it, but they know there's something over there and they can still deal with it. They can decide to deal with it or not. So right now we allow people to kind of self-request this, or maybe based on preset frequency. However, in the future, maybe there's more integration of sensing based on the browser's behavioral data, maybe based on there's like different kind of models from prior work, also AI models that we use the clicks and also the tabs information to construct a stress sensing model. So maybe we can, by using this stress sensing model, and we know when exactly is the most stressful moment of the user, and then that shows up. But we haven't got there yet in terms of this current project. This is potentially another solution, only show up when people need it, but they can still have the agency to skip it if they don't want to focus their attention on that.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question.
All right. Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions, guys? Okay. For now, it seems like we have no more questions yet. Yeah. So if there'll be any questions, I think maybe we will email. Yeah. So thank you so
Yeah.
much, Professor, for this
No problem.
very amazing talk about AI and AR applications and your research generally. Yeah. So I think our participants enjoyed it very much, and we are very excited about it. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Good luck, everybody. I'll see you later. Bye.
Okay. Bye, Professor. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, Professor.
No problem. Bye. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks. Hey, Stardy. So I think we have time until 3 p.m. right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, maybe